This is Joy News Prime.
This is Joy News Prime here on Joy News on Multi TV. A warm welcome to those of you watching around the globe on the internet, as well as those joining us across Europe on Avian television. In this edition, public outcry as fuel prices go up by about 4% in what some are linking to planned implementation of full deregulation of the petroleum subsector. New Patriotic Party threatens to sanction members who fail to follow laid-down procedure in addressing their grievances following weekend parliamentary primaries. Parliament summons WHO scientist over his comments regarding members' call for suspension of Ebola vaccine trials in Ghana. And Institution of Engineers urges government to immediately implement their recommendations on how to avert floods in Accra. We also have business, sports and international news coming up in the next 60 minutes. Do stay tuned. There's been public outcry over an increase in the prices of petroleum products at the pumps today. Prices went up by an average of 4% for petrol and diesel, and consumers are not amused by the move. Joy News' Fiscal has been speaking to the motoring public and reports.
Our checks at some fuel stations in Accra revealed many of them had increased their prices. At the Total station at Newtown here in Accra, a litre of petrol, which was previously sold at 3.33 Ghana cedis, was now being sold at 3.463, while a litre of diesel had gone up from 3.240 to 3.370 Ghana cedis. The MPA, however, says the most any fuel station is supposed to price petrol, for instance, is 3 cedis 47 pesos. But many motorists who interacted with Joy News were shocked and upset.
The price which has been increased is too much. Actually, to me, it's too much for me. It's too much. When we buy the diesel to work for a sufficient job, we don't get the actual amount that we are being expected.
I don't think this is fair at all. They are not fair to the poor people, the ordinary people. So I think I'm passing this my message for you to tell the government, if he wants vote, I think better to think what to do to the poor people. We are suffering too much. It's too much.
The motorbike dealer, Joshua Latte, could not hide his frustration.
With the filling station, they said they have increased the fuel. I don't understand it, because last month they increased the fuel, this month they have increased the fuel. So how do they want us to cope in our own country? If you buy fuel 10 cedi, the fuel can take you to, if you are using a motorbike, from here to Nsawam, and you come back and still you have some left inside in the tank. But right now 10 cedi even can take you to Nsawam and come back. So we are so disappointed. Our strong man, our own father, our strong man, John Dramani Mahama, we think he's coming to take good care of us, like how chicken cover his children. But actually, this one there at all, we are dying.
I'm not sure you will die, Joshua.
We are dying.
In spite of the increment at some pumps, a few managers said they were waiting for a directive from their head office before adjusting their prices. Felix Akoyam, Joy News.
Now, the increase in fuel prices at the pumps Tuesday morning has been linked to a planned implementation of a full deregulation of the petroleum subsector. Though the National Petroleum Authority had announced the policy was to take effect yesterday, this did not happen, with analysts suggesting there were legal hurdles that needed to be cleared. Though the MPA has not confirmed the price increase is implementation of full deregulation, reference to the policy by its chief executive has not helped the confusion created in the minds of the public.
Government says it is deregulating petroleum prices. Some say consumers like you and I stand to benefit from competition that will ensue. But others say the OMCs are going to form up cartels to streamline price hikes. How does that sound to you? Here are the premises of the authority that is supposed to ensure that if for nothing at all you and I get value for money. We'll find out from them what they're doing to find some kind of regulation for the deregulation.
This is the first step in this price deregulation to go to a full price deregulation. If you look at what we call ex-refinery is the price that the BDCs sell to the OMCs. And we are the people who would set MPA. We would set the ex-refinery price. So in that price build-up, we set the ex-refinery. But when the BDCs are going to sell to the OMCs, they on their own give discounts. So if we had to go by that, then it means that even the law was violated several years, like since 2007 up till today, because the ex-refinery is part of the price build-up. What does this change? You want fuel. You want it to be at the acceptable legal level. The acceptable legal level is the 4% increase. But you have told the OMCs, if you think you have negotiated better and you can pass it, we thank you for that. And they have decided to pass it. Then you are fighting it. Is it that we don't want progress? We don't want to enjoy competitive pricing, and we are talking of the law. There are various steps to price deregulation. We have started with step 1. And the step 1 does not necessarily need us to go to Parliament, because all that we are saying is that we have done your automatic adjustment, whatever. We have set our cap, and we are saying that the market should compete. The only addition is market should compete.
The minority in Parliament has linked the increase to conditions set out by the IMF in the recent bailout to Ghana. The NPA chief executive says the claims are untrue.
I don't think that it is the IMF that is managing our life in Ghana. We have seen other markets that have been deregulated. You people are very young, so you don't know. We used to have what we call price control, even for milk. Nobody ever believed that one day in Ghana you don't need a cheat to go and buy milk or sugar. But today it is happening and people have forgotten. The NPA would still be monitoring prices. We would also be doing our own pricing as we have been doing, and then we then set the cap based upon the automatic adjustment formula. Yes, but today you have seen that even though the price is supposed to be at 3 cedis 46 pesos for petrol, Goil is selling at 3 cedis, I think 37 pesos. Then that's why you just need to take your car and drive to Goil. And we believe that in the next few days, these price changes would continue, and then people would then say that let me go around and see which is the best price on the market, and then I'll go there and buy.
Well, former NPA boss John Atefa has described as deja vu claims by the National Petroleum Regulator that it has started petroleum deregulation, while the National Petroleum Authority maintains it has started a pricing cap regime leading to full deregulation. Experts say nothing really has changed and that price capping of petroleum products is not new. It cannot be described as deregulation. Mr. Atefa spoke to my colleague Stephen Anti on today's big story.
This is deja vu.
Deja vu.
It's what they've always done. They've always given us, the price they've always given us is the cap. And all what has happened this time is that encourage the oil marketing companies to try and take a hit so that they don't pass through the full increase to the consumer. But that's all it is.
That's all it is. So is it like the NPA is throwing dust into our eyes to make us believe there is deregulation when there is none?
I won't call this, I don't see this as the deregulation. If they are moving towards it, they might be doing so, maybe preparing the ground for that to really be launched. But really, NPA's Act says it will give us the maximum indicative price on the market. The maximum indicative price does not say that all OMCs must sell by that maximum. Some could sell lower. And even, remember back in 2006 when we started, this was what was done.
I see.
Oil companies were selling at different prices, and we went on, and then everybody forgot, and then they all went back to charging the maximum, because when the margins are not good enough, that's what they do. But this is deja vu. A food deregulation would have been like this. A BBC, a wholesaler, would have come up with a price which it will give to its contractors or its agents and said to them, you are retailing my product for me. Because when I went to the world market to buy my finished product, I got a discount. I am giving you part of that discount. And therefore, even though oil is 120, because I got a discount on the world market, I'll sell it to you at 118.
I see. Health Minister Alex Egbefia says government will ensure the safety of Ghanaians as it discusses the possibility of clinical trials of the Ebola vaccine in the country. The minister, who addressed Parliament today on what has become a controversial subject, said though the Food and Drugs Authority has given authorization for GlaxoSmithKline to begin recruitment of candidates at Hoho in the Volta region, no approval has been given for the importation of any such vaccine. He also disclosed that no volunteer has been engaged to undergo the trial. The health minister further explained the second phase of the trial will ensure that those vaccinated are protected in case of another outbreak.
The vaccine for the proposed GSK trial is an Ebola glycoprotein gene. According to scientific information available to my office, when the vaccine is injected into healthy humans, antibodies against the Ebola virus will be produced, which can lead to the prevention of EVD. The vaccine, according to the information available, cannot cause EVD since it does not replicate in humans due to the deletion of its replicating gene. For the avoidance of doubt, this vaccine does not contain the Ebola virus. This vaccine does not contain the Ebola virus and therefore cannot cause the Ebola disease. The rationale for conducting the trial in Ghana and 4 other countries takes into consideration the fact that these countries border the affected countries. The design of the phase 2 trial will be such that in the event of an outbreak, persons already vaccinated would be already protected.
Alex Egbefia also announced a series of programs to sensitize the country before the clinical trial can take place.
The FDA governing board, concerned with public sensitivities surrounding the Ebola disease and fears that clinical trials of vaccines could generate among Ghanaians, and conscious that thus of the need to be proactive, set out a plan for stakeholder engagements preceding any formal approval for Ebola vaccine trials. Mr. Speaker, I must concede that implementation of the program for stakeholder consultation and community engagement has not been as thorough as one would have expected. Consequently, I took the decision to announce the suspension of commencement of clinical trials to allow for adequate time to reach out and assure all concerned that under no circumstances will the ministry or the government for that matter approve any clinical trials that will undermine the health and safety of residents of Hoho in the Volta region and the people of Ghana as a whole.
In a related development, the World Health Organization's representative here in Ghana has come into some trouble with Parliament. Alex Dodu has been invited to the Privileges Committee over his recent comments about a botched clinical trial for a new Ebola vaccine. The Health Ministry suspended the trial last week after public outcry, even though the Food and Drugs Authority had approved it. Professor Alex Dodu, who was speaking on Joy FM Super Morning Show, had suggested comments made by MPs on the subject were uninformed. But the MPs have taken exception to the comments and at today's sitting asked the Speaker to summon him before the Privileges Committee.
We should be all involved as a country to help science grow. But the way that somebody who claims to know will go on air and denigrate Parliament as if he knows more than anybody in this country, Mr. Speaker. I think
to the professed experts on this subject, Mr. Speaker, I only hope and pray that his malicious and wicked and objectionable attack on this August House with those misleading comments was not meant to create fear and panic in this country. Because if we say we don't have Ebola, and you are announcing and incentivizing people to be associated with it, it's a very good source of the creation of fear and panic in this country. And I think it's only appropriate we support honorable members' comment that we call him to order.
Referring to a statement by the Academy of Arts and Science, which seemed to support the House's position, the Speaker of Parliament, Edward Jaho, obliged to the members' request.
I will exercise my discretion in favor of the call to refer Professor Dodu to the Privileges Committee of the House. Honourable members, I'm doing so because I've carefully listened to the Minister for Health, and some of the issues that he raised are not different from the issues that the members raised on the floor of the House. I've also read the press statement from the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. Some of the concerns they have raised are also different from the concerns raised by honourable members on the floor of the House. Honourable members, even in this House, when we are legislating, perform your constitutional duty, and the public whom we represent here are not in support and think that there's not sufficient information to them, we suspend proceedings to re-engage them. And Honourable Minister for Health, I thank you very much for suspending the process. And I want to tell you, if you have not done that, members of this House from both sides have seen me to bring a bill under certificate of agency to pass it, to restrict some of the powers vested in the Food and Drugs Authority, so that the ministry can have full responsibility, and if need be, Parliament can be briefed at certain intervals on these matters.
Meanwhile, Professor Alex Dodu tells Joy News he will not evade the Privileges Committee of Parliament if his presence is requested. According to him, he is yet to receive an official notice of the summons from Parliament. When he appears before the committee, he intends to answer questions on the Ebola vaccine trial as well as his initial comments on radio truthfully and based on facts as a scientist.
As we speak, I have not had any contacts from the August House. I have not had any contacts, be it by telephone or by a letter. So I must say this is all news to me. Well, if that invite comes, I would happily and gladly, well, I don't have a choice. If that invite comes, I'll respectfully honor the invitation. I'll be very, very pleased to answer the questions that will be posed. I will be very truthful and very factual. And I want to believe that all the comments I've made have been made in my position as a scientist, speaking about the factual country. And I would have to respect the House and give the facts as they are, because the facts are secret. I said it on Joy, on the morning breakfast show and other fora, that the decision by Parliament, or the decision to suspend the trials was regrettable. And yes, I did express disquiet about the utterances of some members as carried by national media. If these were construed as such, I suppose I have to wait for the question from Parliament and answer appropriately.
More than 20,000 birds have been destroyed in fresh bird flu cases at 2 locations in the Volta region. The culling was conducted by the Veterinary Services Department at Keji Koper in the Keta municipality and Bogadi in the Ketu South municipality. It comes after test results of samples of avian flu taken to a lab in Italy came out positive last week. The Agric Ministry, however, says measures have been put in place to contain further spread. Deputy Sector Minister Dr. Hannah Bisiu has been explaining to Joy News how government is dealing with the situation.
You are not supposed to be entering farms because there's bird flu, so you enter this farm to check if there's a snow.
So how do you then ensure?
The farmers, we trust that. If not, we can't do anything. You see, there's a biosecurity system that you can't break the chain. You cannot get up because you're a vet. We don't have enough vets, so you go to this farm. Already our biosecurity systems are not in place on our farms. You move from this farm, you go to that farm. You move from this farm, you go to that farm. So you cannot...
Sorry, Honourable, but that means this is a reactive measure. It means we can't be proactive then.
No, you don't have to say something that you don't know. Okay, you are saying something that is technical and you don't know. They are protocols. And those protocols, it can't be the way you and I want it. It must be the way.
No, but we're talking about an outbreak here. There's an outbreak.
And precisely so. You don't vaccinate where there's an outbreak. No, I'm saying...
I'm not talking about vaccination.
No,
you go in there to
check. I'm a veterinary doctor by profession. And so I'm telling you what I know as a professional. Okay. And it's not about what you want to know because you think that, in your opinion, this is how it must be done. In my opinion, maybe I would think that as a journalist, you should do something differently. But I didn't study journalism. Okay, so it's different. So I'm explaining to you the protocols, and those protocols cannot be changed by you, nor by me. They are laid down protocols. There was an outbreak in the Netherlands, and the vets were not roaming from one farm to the other.
But it's essentially, you agree with me that the conditions in the Netherlands are not the same in Ghana.
So what are you saying that our farmers are?
We're taking a break. We'll be back with more stories. Don't go away. Members of the Ghana Institution of Engineers are urging government to immediately implement recommendations they have made over the years to ensure the proper planning of Accra. According to them, designs of drains and a flood plan for Accra, among others, have largely been ignored. They say until the plans are implemented, Accra will continue to be ravaged by floods. Executive Secretary of the Institute, George Asando, spoke to Joy News after touring the areas worst affected in the recent floods.
Behind me is the terrible aftermath of the flood and fire disaster that rocked this part of the nation's capital on June 3. According to the Ghana Institution of Engineers, a lot has to be done if we have to avoid some of these needless deaths and destructions. They say that big problems such as this need bold decisions. And to tell us more is the Executive Secretary, George Asando. Welcome to Joy News.
Thank you. All that we are asking for is that the citizenry, one, the government, two, and the professional bodies, technically, to do certain things. And we think that once these things are done, by way of getting to the implementation of the solutions or the issues that are known already, we can deal with this one.
So you have had the solutions a long time, and they have not been implemented.
Yes, I would say yes.
So what is the setback? Is it lack of political will or funding?
We identified 3 groups of people that must do certain things to make sure that the implementation of these solutions are done, such as the design of drainage, construction of drainage, and even the whole plan, a flood plan for Accra.
So you have seen the horrible and terrifying scenes. What could have been different?
What could have been different is if we had applied ourselves, all of us applied ourselves to the issues that we knew of and to the solutions that we knew of and implemented them.
Minister of Education Professor Nana Jenopuku-Agyeman has criticized what she describes as a mass hysteria attached to discussions about the death of a young pupil who became paralyzed in an attempt to pluck a coconut fruit for his teacher. Richard Jangba, a 17-year-old boy of Zuhum Abuabo Wonkie Presby in the eastern region, damaged his central nervous system when he fell from the coconut tree. And addressing the issue at the meet the press session, the minister said the case has now been handed to the police to investigate and punish whoever would be found culpable.
Richard Jangba, prior to his death, had been bedridden after damaging his central nervous system. He told Joy News shortly after the incident, his teacher forced him to climb and pluck some fruit off the tree for him to quench his thirst. My teacher asked me to climb a coconut tree and pluck some coconut for him. I tried to explain to my teacher that I could not climb the tree, but he threatened to punish me if I don't. So I had no option but to climb the tree. I did climb the tree and fell in the process. Richard, according to his uncle, died after going into coma for days. The Directorate of Education in the Sohum Krabwa Kota district, where the incident happened, has refused to comment on the issue. The Minister of Education said the police has taken over the investigations.
We need proper investigation into this matter. So as I told you, we called in the police, it's with the police, and when the proper report is out, we'll share with you. But meanwhile, we mourn with the parents. It's a very, very sad moment for us because we feel maybe it needn't have happened.
Richard Jangbe's body is still at the morgue, and a human rights lawyer, Francis Xavier Sosu, says the school could be held liable if the autopsy reveals Richard died out of complications from the injury he sustained after the fall.
The Minister of Education has described as unnecessary frustration the use of English language as a medium of communication and teaching at the basic level. There has always been a debate on the medium of communication at the primary level. Now, to put the matter to rest, the Minister says her outfit will intensify the campaign to bring back the language policy, which requires all public schools to teach pupils at the basic level in local languages and treat English as a subject on its own. She made this observation when she took her turn at the Meet the Press series early on Tuesday.
The language policy states very clearly that the child must be taught in their language till P3. And at that time, English may be a subject just like other things are subjects. Then you transit them from P4 onwards. But we are the same parents who, as a result, take the children out and put them in a school where they will speak English. Even if the English is as bad as mine. You see? So sometimes we also don't support the system. And then finally the children are not, they are neither literate in their own language or in other. What do we want the children to do? It's unnecessary frustration. It needn't happen. What is wrong when your child speaks your own language? Whatever can be wrong with that? So we want to stimulate national debate on this and bring back the policy. And as I said, I went to one place where we are using the policy, week 1, lesson 4. So what makes that child so different from the one who at the end of JHS still cannot read? What's the joy in that? So it is the question of the language. We are introducing the language that even the parents may have challenges, and they are not English people anyway. You know, the parents don't speak that language around the child. Okay, so he or she doesn't hear it that often. Okay, and if in doubt about the local language, as I said, when we look at the countries that have been scored very highly, or in what language do they teach their children? If it's Korea, it's in Korean. If it's China, it's in Chinese. If it's German, it's German. If it's France, it's French. So what do we do here?
The New Patriotic Party is asking members who were aggrieved following the weekend parliamentary primaries to use the appropriate structures to seek redress or risk losing their membership. A number of candidates who lost at the primaries have vowed to run as independent candidates in 2016, with implications for the party's chances at the polls. Speaking at a news conference on Tuesday, the party's General Secretary, Kwabena Japong, says such persons will automatically forfeit the association with the NPP. Kwacha Frenuema has more.
The General Secretary, who has been at the center of controversy in the party recently, described the polls as generally peaceful and asked all party members to respect the will of the delegates.
The successful outcome of these well-organized elections have once again demonstrated our faith and commitment towards the deepening of our democracy.
According to him, any aspirant who goes independent would face severe sanctions.
Well, I think the regulations are very clear. If you decide to go independent, then you forfeit your membership of the party. But of course, as I said, it's a political entity. We are encouraging our Council of Elders in the various constituencies, and in fact at the regional level, to intervene in the few places that we've had apprehensions rearing its head up.
Mr. Japong described suggestions that some delegates were influenced with money at the parliamentary polls as exaggerated.
If money wins elections, then opposition parties would not win. Of course, we won in 2000 after staying in opposition for close to 30 years against an incumbent that had been in power for the previous 19. I think that we should play down on this talk. You know, of course, it's not the best when people resort to what is being called as what, monocracy or whatever they call it. But I have utmost confidence. In fact, the party, essentially, we have utmost confidence in the ability of our electorate to elect the right candidates.
On the July 7 by-elections in Talensi, the General Secretary says the MPP is poised to retain the seat.
We are also very ready, willing and able to retain that seat. And that the processes are already ongoing and all arrangements have been in place. And so therefore we are heading towards giving everybody the worth of their money. We are very confident about it. It's a difficult constituency that we know, we appreciate, but we're going to work very hard and retain that seat.
The party is, however, yet to fix a date for the primaries in the Talensi constituency. Kwache Afreniama for Joy News.
Up next, we bring you business news with Abigail Adomakuentri. Stay tuned.
Business News is brought to you.
The time now for some business report with me, Abigail Adomakuentri. We start off with the Institute of Economic Affairs, where they are asking or calling for a rule to guide the country's fiscal policy. The institute maintains if the country must achieve a target debt of 50% of GDP by 2020, it may have to do an average deficit of 4% per year. Senior economist of the IEA, Dr. John Kwache, maintains that the current unchanged policy is unsustainable and will further cripple the economy.
The forum is part of IEA's series of programs on the public debt management. Discussions centered on the role of fiscal policy on improving fiscal management in Ghana. Analysts maintained Ghana has a track record of high fiscal deficits, and a review of the country's fiscal performance reveals that the country has not been able to keep the government's budget under control.
This paper has already been published, and we have circulated a condensed form of it, which we call legislative alerts, to 2,000 top officials, right from the president down. And then we have written letters to again these officials about the looming debt crisis in this country, and then what measures need to be taken to rein in the debt and to achieve a sustainable situation.
Former Finance Minister Osafo Maafo says the call is timely.
Ghana has a problem, and the problem is simply fiscal indiscipline. A situation where we allow ourselves to spend more than the revenue we have, total revenue, that is including grants, loans, etc. When we do that, we push the whole economy into difficulty, and every Ghanaian is called upon to tighten his belt because of the indiscipline of others. When you are running a home, you shouldn't spend more than your income. That's how you should run the economy.
The institute is also calling for efforts devoted to ensuring that we have a clean payroll system devoid of ghost names.
Now, except for new motor insurance policy holders, existing ones have something to smile about, as they will, after all, be paying just about half the hike in their third-party premium. This is because such existing policy holders would enjoy up to 50% discount when the premium increase takes effect in July. The chief executive of Quality Insurance Company, Kobina Addison, who is a member of a four-man insurance team negotiating with government, revealed this to Joy Business.
800% increment. It's actually 600% increment, and no matter how high 600 will be, I think the facts need to be laid down that it's 600% increment, and we are talking about 600% increment for first-time users. It's important to note that it's for first-time users. Previous insurance holders are definitely going to get up to 50% discounts, and that would significantly reduce the premiums that they are going to be paid.
EcoBank has partnered financial services firm MasterCard to provide digital financial products and service channels for bank customers to make banking easier. The move is also expected to promote the country's quest for a cashless economy and deepen financial inclusion. The agreement signed would see the issuance of 2.2 million cards within 10 years. For EcoBank, the partnership provides them with the opportunity to meet the increasing demand for friendly financial services across various customer segments.
What this means now is that our customers will have access to online services, use of their card, e-commerce, and reduce the cost of having to go physically to bank locations to do their transactions. They can do their transactions on the phone, they can do it on the internet, they can do it at ATMs. And while they're doing it, they get a lot of loyalty points from EcoBank and MasterCard, and they're able to redeem it at major retailers because we're bringing the retailers into this partnership. So when they go to MaxMart, when they go to ShopRite, when they go to big retailers, or when they are buying online from airlines, they can do their booking online, they can pay for school fees, they can send monies to their children wherever they are. It just brings banking services to the pocket of our customers.
MasterCard is providing about $7 million for the massive rollout of the cards, a move they believe will deepen financial inclusion in the country.
The World Bank is projecting that by 2020 you see sub-Saharan African retail banking contributing up to 19% of GDP. So our view is that as we take Africa Digital, which is exactly the heart of the partnership with EcoBank, we will be going way beyond retail banking. It's about enabling. It's about enabling merchants. It's about enabling the average citizen on the street to have more access to capital, more access to commerce, and that will drive overall economic growth in a more significant way than simply what we're seeing out of branch-based banking today.
In other news, the Transport Minister Jifa Ativo has hinted plans are far advanced to regain the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration Category 1 status for Ghana. According to her, the ministry has concluded an audit and revision of the civil aviation law, which is critical in the attainment of the status.
Was awarded FAA Category 1 status in 1996 and lost it in 2004 due to Ghana Civil Aviation Authority's inability to ensure adequate oversight responsibility of a Ghana-registered aircraft, Ghana Airways. Since then, the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority has been taking all necessary steps to meet all international safety and security requirements to enable her regain the FAA Category 1 status, which will enable air carriers from Ghana continue to service in the United States.
We started the process, our civil aviation laws, and we have finished the revision, and we currently at Parliament for the passing of the law. So it will not be too long when we would have completed that process.
The U.S. Secretary of Transport, Anthony Fox, also added that Ghana will be awarded a category after meeting international safety and security requirements.
The Minister and I had some very good conversation about this, and we continue to look forward to working with Ghana to get there as quickly as possible. In the U.S., this process is a fact-based, safety-based process. It is not a political process. It is an objective process that involves measuring certain capabilities. But I have a lot of confidence that as we continue working together, we'll get there.
And that does it for Business. For more, do log on to myjournline.com. George Adi Jr. is coming up next with sports to stay.
Let's do some sports now. And Sports Minister Dr. Mustafa Ahmed has laughed off claims government's release of a white paper on the Justice Jamapes Commission's report prior to publishing the report is unconstitutional. The Ghana FA legal team have quoted Article 280 of Ghana's Constitution, which states the President shall, subject to Clause 4 of this article, cause to be published the report of a commission of inquiry together with a white paper on it within 6 months after the date of submission of the report by the commission. These proponents add the conditions of Article 280 have not been satisfied. But Dr. Mustafa Ahmed tells Joy Sports government has barely put a foot wrong in the entire process.
Well, I really think that the right things were done. The report was presented which was aired live. A lot of people are aware that the report has been availed. Perhaps sometimes the response is perhaps the reaction that we see when people are taken by surprise. A lot of times commission reports come and then the white paper comes a lot late. This time around, we've seen a white paper that has come within time. So the shock of early presentation of the white paper, perhaps to me, is what has resulted in the mixed responses that we are getting. But I think that the report is also available. It's available both in hard copy and then online for anybody who wants to get it to read, yes.
There'll be a lot more reactions coming from this. Now let's talk about some women football. And Africa's challenge at the ongoing Women's World Cup in Canada has been littered with too many defeats and a pack of goals conceded. But Cameroon and Nigeria still have a chance to make the knockout stage if they manage crucial wins in their final group games on Wednesday.
Now, one of Africa's 3 teams at the Women's World Cup has already gone home. Ivory Coast exited with a 3-1 defeat at the hands of Norway on Monday. And at their inaugural finals, the Ivorians failed to avoid defeat in any of their 3 games, conceding 16 goals and scoring just 3. Within the next 12 hours, the fate of Africa's remaining sides, Cameroon and continental champions Nigeria, will be determined. First up are Cameroon, who know that a win against Switzerland in Edmonton will guarantee them a place in the knockout stages at their very first Women's World Cup. However, even if the indomitable Lionesses lose, they can still go through as one of the best third-place teams. After Cameroon play, it's Nigeria's turn. They're up against the United States, and it's do or die for the African champions. They have to win to have any chance of going through. And in the history of the Women's World Cup, Nigeria are the only African side to have ever reached the knockouts, but that was back in 1999.
Now some stunning news in basketball, and 4 key Nazis have taken their passion for basketball to another level and focused it on pulling up some insane stunts for their YouTube channel. The group called themselves How Ridiculous, and their most recent venture saw them break their own world record for the highest basketball shot with a staggering 126 meters.
How about this for a basketball trick shot? A group of friends from Australia have broken their own world record for the longest basket ever thrown. And this ball travels over 125 meters before dramatically curving at the end to find the basket. It took place at a dam in Tasmania, and by the group's own admission, the successful shot came some 4 to 5 hours after they first started trying. But I'd have to say, Peter, it is well worth.
So it took them 4 to 5 hours to do this. The group's name is How Ridiculous, truly ridiculous. That'll be all for sports tonight. I'm George Adejuna. As your live will join us with some more. Have a good night.
Being pregnant and getting into labor at the moment disaster strikes. That was the traumatic experience of Mavis Obenewa, who found herself in labor at a time the twin disasters happened on June 3. As water gushed into her room, she had no choice but to take refuge on a chair meant for the naming ceremony of her unborn baby. And guess what? She gave birth to twins after enduring the trauma of the twin disasters. Derek Akosam paid her a visit at her Kwame Nkrumah Circle residence, the epicenter of the disaster, and has the rest of her story.
On the 3rd of June, the nation was hit with this worst disaster. Flood and fire took away a lot of lives. But as the water entered into people's homes, especially residents of Kwame Nkrumah Circle, one lady went into labor. She had already done a scan and she was told that she would give birth to twins. And so the experience made her go into labor at once. But she was able to contain her pains and give birth a week after that. We are here at her house. We want to talk to her to find out what exactly was she thinking of and how was the experience like. So let's get in and talk to her. Where were you when the whole thing started?
I was here. And when the flood started, I was here with my sister, my elder sister, and my elder brother. Later on, we all sit on our chair there, and we saw that the flood is coming. So it came on speed. All of a sudden, we saw that there is so many flood coming. So my mother came early with one girl sitting here. and she came and read things here.
And so when did you finally get into labor?
When the flag decided to go away.
Have they been named already?
No.
So what name are you considering?
I don't have money, so if the government will help me to get something to do something and get everything, I bought everything, but the flag took everything away. And my husband thinks too, the flag was taken by the things. So we don't have anything. These things are people who give it to us.
There was an explosion not too far away from your house. Were you thinking that it would cross over to your house?
Yeah, because I think that when the flag started on 11 something, so we are praying that if we go to 12 to 1, maybe he can take us. So all my life was like dependent by God. That's it.
Did you say a special prayer?
Yeah, we prayed.
What was the prayer you said?
We have been going to a certain prayer called Avian, so we are believed by Oja.
I believe it will be apt to just name the twins Water and Fire. That'll be all for the bulletin. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Israel. You have a good evening.
This is Joy News Prime.